They say military wives are the strongest women in the world. But strength has limits, and 8 months of deployment tested every single one of mine. When comfort came from unexpected places, my caring neighbor and my husband's loyal friend, I told myself I was just surviving. The baby that resulted from those desperate months seemed like a blessing. Until my 15-year-old son started asking questions I couldn't answer. Hey, this is the Storyline Universe channel where we share stories that are real and feel so real, they'll make you question everything you thought you knew about life. If you enjoy this story, make sure to subscribe and give it a like. My name is Rachel, and this is the hardest story I've ever had to tell. I'm 39 now, but this all started when I was 24, desperately in love with my husband David. We'd been married for 2 years when he got orders for his first deployment, 8 months in Afghanistan. David was everything you'd want in a soldier and a husband. Strong, loyal, devoted. He worried about leaving me alone, but I assured him I'd be fine. We lived on base housing at Fort Campbell, surrounded by other military families. I wasn't really alone, I told him. What I didn't expect was how completely unprepared I was for military wife life. The first month was brutal. The silence in our small base house was deafening. I'd wake up reaching for David, only to find cold sheets. The other wives tried to include me, but they all seemed so capable, so strong, I felt like I was drowning. That's when Marcus showed up. Marcus lived 2 houses down with his wife Jenny, a nurse who worked long shifts. He was also military, stationed stateside while preparing for his own deployment. He was the kind of neighbor who noticed things, like when my porch light burned out or when my car wouldn't start. David asked me to keep an eye on you, Marcus said the first time he knocked, holding a toolbox. Said the kitchen faucet's been acting up. Marcus was different from David in every way. Where David was serious and focused, Marcus was easygoing and made me laugh. He had this way of making everything seem manageable. You don't have to fix everything, I told him after he'd spent Saturday repairing my garbage disposal. David would do the same for Jenny if I was deployed, he said. That's what we do. But around month 3, the visits started feeling like something else. Then there was Tom. Tom wasn't military. He was a contractor hired for base housing renovations. Older than me by 10 years, he had quiet confidence and this presence that filled the room. Where Marcus was friendly and outgoing, Tom was reserved, thoughtful. I met him when my air conditioning broke during summer. The housing office promised someone would come, but Tom was the first person who actually showed up. Sorry it took so long, he said. I don't usually work base contracts, but they were desperate. Tom worked quietly, efficiently. Unlike Marcus, who chattered, Tom was comfortable with silence. When he did speak, it was always thoughtful. Your husband deployed recently? He asked while testing the repair. 3 months ago, 5 more to go. He nodded with understanding. That's a long time to keep everything together on your own. It was such a simple acknowledgement, but it made me feel seen. Both men started showing up regularly, never at the same time. Marcus on weekends when Jenny worked. Tom for housing repairs that became increasingly frequent. I started looking forward to their visits, putting on makeup, wearing clothes that fit better. The line was crossed on a terrible night in month 5. David's deployment had been extended by 2 weeks. I'd held it together during the call with David, but afterward I broke down completely. Marcus found me crying on my front porch. What's wrong? He asked, sitting beside me. I told him everything, the extension, how I felt like I was barely hanging on. Marcus listened without judgment. When I finished, he pulled me into a hug meant to be comfort, but when I looked up at him, something shifted. Rachel, he whispered, warning in his voice. I should have pulled away. Instead, I kissed him. We made it to my living room couch before crossing every line that mattered. Afterward, the guilt was overwhelming. This can't happen again, I said. I know, Marcus replied, but we both knew it would. It did happen again. Marcus started coming over more frequently, and each time we told ourselves it would be the last. But loneliness was stronger than guilt. Then, 3 weeks later, Tom showed up unexpectedly after my washing machine flooded the laundry room. I was exhausted, frustrated, on the verge of tears when he knocked. Something about his calm presence just broke me. I started crying, and like Marcus had done, Tom pulled me into his arms. But this time, I knew exactly what I was doing when I kissed him. The next 5 months became a dangerous dance. Marcus would come weekends when Ginny worked. Tom, during weekday afternoons, I was living 3 different lives: the wife who talked to David, the woman who found desperate comfort with Marcus, and the person who discovered forbidden connection with Tom. The most dangerous moment came when both showed up the same afternoon. Marcus arrived first, and we were intimate when Tom knocked for an unscheduled visit. I had to send Marcus out the back while answering the front door, heart racing. "You okay?" Tom asked, studying my flushed face. "You seem flustered." "Just got out of the shower," I lied. That's when I realized how deep I'd fallen into deception. I wasn't just betraying David, I was betraying everyone. The pregnancy test came back positive in month 7. I stared at those pink lines, hands shaking. The timing was impossible to pinpoint. It could have been Marcus, Tom, or even David from before deployment, though the math made that unlikely. When I called David that night, my voice was shaking. "I have news," I said. "I'm pregnant." David whooped with joy. "When?" "About 8 weeks. The baby will come when you're home." "Rachel, this is incredible! I can't believe I'm going to be a father." His excitement made the guilt unbearable. Both Marcus and Tom noticed my change immediately. When I told Marcus, he went pale. "Is it?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "It could be David's." "What are we going to do?" "Nothing. This ends now. All of it." Tom's reaction was different. When I told him, he just nodded slowly. "Timing's interesting," he said. "It's David's baby." "Is it?" I ended both relationships that day, or tried to. But emotional affairs aren't easily severed. David came home 2 weeks before my due date, glowing with excitement. He'd transformed our spare room into a perfect nursery, completely in love with the child he believed was his. Ethan was born on a Tuesday morning, 6 pounds 4 ounces, with dark hair and brilliant blue eyes. David cried holding him. "He's perfect," David whispered. "Look at all that hair, those incredible eyes." But even then I noticed things that made my stomach clench. Ethan's features were sharp where ours were soft. His hair dark where we were fair. His eyes a blue neither David nor I possessed. "Must take after a grandparent," David would say when people commented. "Genetics can skip generations." Marcus transferred to a different base when Ethan was 6 months old. Tom finished his housing contract around the same time. I thought the secret would stay buried. For 15 years it worked. David was an incredible father. He coached Ethan's teams, helped with homework, taught him to drive. Ethan worshipped David, wanted to join the military. But as Ethan got older, the questions became harder to ignore. "Mom, why don't I look anything like Dad?" 13-year-old Ethan asked, studying family photos. "You look like your great-grandfather," I lied. "He had dark hair and blue eyes, too." But Ethan was smart, observant. By 15, he'd started researching genetics, asking pointed questions about family traits that didn't add up. The breaking point came last month. Ethan was working on a biology project about hereditary traits. "Mom," he said, looking up from his textbook, "this doesn't make sense." "What doesn't make sense?" "You and Dad both have brown eyes. I have blue eyes. The textbook says that's genetically impossible unless there's a recessive gene, but I checked. None of our grandparents had blue eyes either." I felt the blood drain from my face. Genetics can be complicated. "Or Dad isn't my biological father," Ethan said quietly. The words hung between us like a bomb. "Ethan, that's ridiculous." "Is it? I want to do a DNA test." "Absolutely not." "Why not?" If Dad is my biological father, what's the harm? I couldn't answer without revealing everything. There's something you're not telling me, Ethan said. Was Dad deployed when I was conceived? The question hit like a physical blow. Ethan had done the math. Your father loves you, I said desperately. That's what matters. But he's not my biological father, is he? I looked at this smart boy with features that belonged to neither of us. It's complicated, I whispered. Who is he? My real father? David is your real father. Who is my biological father? 15 years of lies crumbled around me. I don't know, I admitted. You don't know? During Dad's deployment, I wasn't as strong as I should have been. There were 2 men who helped me, and I made terrible choices I've regretted every day since. Ethan stared at me like I was a stranger. 2 men? I was lonely, Ethan. 8 months alone. It doesn't excuse what I did, but... Does Dad know? No, and you can't tell him. It would destroy him. But it was too late. The secret was out. That night, David found me crying in our bedroom. Ethan wants to do a DNA test, I said. Why not? Might be educational. Because I knew what the results would show. David, I started, then stopped. During your deployment, I wasn't as strong as I pretended to be. David's expression changed, understanding dawning. What are you saying? I'm saying Ethan might not be your son. The silence was deafening. Who? He asked finally. Marcus or Tom, I don't know. You don't know. David's voice cracked. It was 8 months, David. I was alone and scared and made terrible decisions. They were kind when I was falling apart, and I let loneliness become something it shouldn't have. David stood slowly, face white. Both of them? I know how it sounds. In our bed? I couldn't answer. 15 years, he said quietly. 15 years I've been raising another man's child. You don't know that. Don't. The math isn't complicated. David put his head in his hands. I need some air. He walked out, and I watched him sit in his truck for over an hour. That was 3 weeks ago. David's been staying at his brother's since then, only coming by for clothes or to see Ethan. We're getting divorced. He filed papers last week. Ethan knows something catastrophic happened, but I haven't told him the full story. The DNA test kit sits unopened on our kitchen counter, waiting. Yesterday, David talked to Ethan about the situation. No matter what any test says, you're my son, I heard David tell him. I've been your father for 15 years, and that won't change. But you're not living here anymore. That's between your mom and me. It doesn't change how I feel about you. If I'm not biologically yours, will you still want to be my dad? Ethan, I changed your diapers, taught you to drive, cheered at every game. You think a DNA test changes any of that? I love you, son. That's never changing. But what your mom did, it broke something in me. Last night, Ethan finally took the DNA test. We all swabbed our cheeks in awkward silence and sent the samples to the lab. Results take 2 to 3 weeks. I don't know what we'll do when they come back. If Ethan is David's son, maybe we can rebuild. If he's not, I don't know how any of us move forward. I've lost my husband, might lose my son's respect, and definitely lost the life I thought I was living. All because I wasn't strong enough to handle 8 months alone. The DNA results came back yesterday. I'm the only one who's seen them. The envelope sits on my kitchen table, still sealed, containing answers that will change everything. I know I have to open it. David and Ethan deserve the truth, but once revealed, there's no going back. Whatever the test says, my son will know his mother betrayed his father. David will know whether the boy he raised is biologically his. And I will live with the consequences of choices I made when I was young, scared, and desperately lonely. They say the truth will set you free, but sometimes the truth destroys everything you've built your life around. Tomorrow, I'm opening those results. Tonight, for just a few more hours, I'm pretending we might still be a family. Even though I know that some betrayals are too deep to forgive, and some lies are too big to overcome. Even though I know the strongest thing I could have done was stay faithful, and the strongest thing I can do now is tell the truth no matter how much it destroys us all.